Hey, guess what?
What?
I didn't start before you sat down,
You're starting right now.
but I'm just having a conversation with you. I didn't say welcome.
To the show. Ho, 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 ho. Yep, another one. Here we are. What is this, 23?
Cheers. 24.
24? I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
it's
so.
24.
We're up there, 20-something.
Yeah, I think
Pretty
next,
crazy.
next one is our anniversary. 25-year anniversary.
25 years.
25 years.
Been doing this since I was a little boy.
Anyway. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome.
Once again, happy to be here.
Yes. Cheers.
Another day from the PDX.
Yep, PDX.
I'm SumOne.
I am Anezka.
And we are here with a show called
Everything
And Nothing.
and Nothing. Yes. Actually, we're being very glib right now, but I just want to say before we start that it's hard being on planet Earth right now.
Uh-oh.
Our world is going through a lot of growing pains, and I'm just so grateful that we're doing this podcast because I feel like these moments of true connection and conversation really help keep me sane and keep going, and the little bit of like funny bits, even if they're not funny to you, really make life a little more bearable.
You got to have fun with it.
So you gotta just roll,
There's the dual nature of it, the comedic tragedy and comedy. The whole world's a tragedy and the whole world's a comedy.
Yes.
It just kind of depends on how you frame it and what kind of stakes you invest into it.
Yep.
Ever since I can remember, terrible travesties have been happening.
Yes.
And they continue. And what do you do about it? Well, you make a little light. You cry a little bit maybe, and you get up and you do what you got to do to keep your own life moving and keep the people around you lifting up.
Yeah. Pull out that tool bag.
Yep.
Pull out that toolkit.
Yep, and start sawing wood or,
build something.
Whatever you do with that tool. Whatever depends on what tools you got, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. Oops, sorry. Anyway, well, I'm glad to be here. It's been a wild ride. Mr. Toad. Feels like with spring, everything's just, speeding up. And we got that fire horse. But the fire horse, I just want to remind all of you that it doesn't always gallop. It stands around a lot too.
Yeah, horses are lazy animals.
It doesn't have to be an out of control year. It can have nice pauses and breathe, and you can put it in the corral for a while,
Yeah.
So anyway.
That being said, spring is in the air.
It is.
Flowers are blooming.
I know.
Everything's
Love it.
coming to life again.
Yep.
So, that's
exciting.
It is.
Yeah. So,
my turn.
is it your turn to go first?
Absolutely my turn to go first.
Oh, I'm so glad.
How dare you try to rob my spotlight from
I
me.
don't want to. I really don't want to.
Yeah, I didn't even think about this one that long. Just something I've thought a lot about over a lot of time. And it seems like a good topic to dive into, talk about a little bit. I wanted to ask you what your take is on free will.
Oh. Free will.
What does that even mean to you? What does free will mean?
Well, free will obviously is that you have the knowledge, the confidence, you have the ability to make choices for yourself. So there's a bit of sovereignty in that.
Interesting. So
So I think of free will as the ability to choose what you want. Choose what you want.
See, and why that's fascinating is because I look at it as more of a yes or no. Does free will exist or does not free will exist? But you immediately framed it as an ability, which is interesting because it's like that means it's a skill to be learned. You have to learn to be free. You have to learn to basically be your own self in a way that's meaningful.
Yes. And it's interesting because that word has definitely changed for me over my lifespan. If you would have asked me about free will, I would have said there's a lot of places in the world where you can absolutely choose free will and you can actually choose to be free. And that's changed for me. I think there's a lot of places, I think most places we don't really get to be free, even though it looks like we get to be free with our choices.
It's true.
But what I have since modified that meaning to me is that regardless of the circumstances, I have free will to choose how I'm going to let that impact me, or how I'm going to look at that from which perspective or which lens, or how I'm going to choose that free will in something that doesn't even feel very free, you know? So it's really changed for me. But I do feel like as a human being and a human species, we all have that. And to me, that boils down also to self-responsibility. Because if you have free will, then that means you're taking responsibility for your life and your choices. And I think a lot of people give that away.
So effectively what you're saying is that we live in a world, a matrix of sorts, where there's a lot of like illusions of choices, and like it looks like we're free to like create our political spectrum and to choose our leaders and to navigate this world, but really it's a lot of fake choices. But we're still free to choose how to react within those constrictions.
Absolutely.
And be completely free from it if we desire.
Yeah. And that's kind of like I think about transcending duality and being able to choose that middle path. You know, I kind of think of free will as that, because, you know, you've got the black and white and the yin and yang and the good and the bad and all that. And that can feel a little bit like a ping pong game, you know, like I'm over here in the wrongville and I'm over here and it's all right. And I'm over here in the shadow and I'm in the goodness. And it feels like I'm just kind of being jerked back and forth. But for me, it's like that free will, kind of the basics. This is kind of like an undertone that isn't part of the definition. For me, free will is trying to find that middle path in the back and forth. So yes, we're in a world that appears to be free, and yet a lot of things aren't. And so how can I find that peace in the non-freedom, choosing that? That's my will. Or I can choose to be a victim. I have free will to do that.
Yeah, I mean, so I brought it up kind of in the context, and in the way I've always talked about it or thought about it is like, do we have free will or not? It's like the idea of free will versus destiny. Is it pre-written? Are we all just billiard balls bouncing around? And so this collision of me manifesting is just based off the last collision of particles that hit before, so it's all calculated. So do we even have the ability to exercise free will? Is a conversation that I feel philosophers and people have asked a lot. And there's something to be said to destiny. There's something to be said to the fact that there's a path laid out in front of us for us to follow. But there's a lot more to be said for free will, and the fact that you are a decider and that creates your own story as you navigate. And I think really you have either two options. You either believe in free will or you don't. And just I have to say that the only correct option is to believe in free will. Because if you don't believe in free will and you're right, well, it doesn't matter because you didn't have free will anyways, right? If you believe in free will and you're wrong, well, you're wrong, but it, doesn't really matter anyways because there was no free will to begin with. The problem is that if you have free will and you don't believe in it, then you fail to utilize it. That means in the one scenario that you are actually free, you're not because you don't believe you are. And that is just a risk that I believe is profoundly important to not take. Like if we have free will, which I believe we do because I have to, based on what I just said, I have to believe it. I have to exercise it because that's what we got.
Yeah. Well, and if you don't believe, like the other thing is like, then you're just living your whole life feeling powerless.
Actually being powerless.
Because then you're just like, well, I can't help that and I can't help that, and that happened to me. And I think that's happening a lot.
Oh yeah.
I see that a lot where people, either by conscious choice or unconscious, people just don't want the responsibility. It's like, I don't want to fix my health. I don't have free will with how to do this. I just got to go to the doctor. I can't. It's not because I've eaten the Doritos as my main lunch for years and a steady diet of Coca-Cola. It's like, that has nothing to do with my diabetic status. I just can't help it. It's like, it's just in my genes. And so I have to go to the doctor and get some pills to help me stay alive, for a body that can't handle this much sugar. And, so I feel like, the free will is like a lot of people don't want that responsibility. They don't want to have free will. They want to be told what to do. They want to be put in a small little box and like, this is the box and these are the rules and here's what you do. And when you don't feel well, you go get these pills and you have a surgery, and don't research and don't investigate and don't take responsibility. And I would say I've done both sides. I've lived a life where I've kind of given away my free will, and it sucks. I would much prefer, as each has its own hard parts, right? But there is something when you kind of move through that first initial learning how to give up that victim and like, no, I want health, or I want this no matter what. Once you get through that, it's much more joyful. It's much more peaceful. It's much more empowering. And it's much more, like there isn't so much depression because you feel like you're participating in a game.
Yeah.
Rather than just being told where to go and what to do all the time and feeling like, oh, well, it doesn't effing matter anyway because, I'm completely powerless,
Yeah, being in the box is comfortable. Being in Plato's cave is comfortable. It's like everything else is unknown. It's hard to step out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the idea a lot of the fact that free will isn't yes or no. It isn't black or white. It's a ability to be learned and practiced. I think there's a lot I think there's a lot for me to glean in that.
Well, and I also think of like free will is that, like you were saying, is it destiny or free will or whatever? And, I don't know if we really will ever know the answer to that, because I've had some experiences that have changed my opinion. Excuse me, I've got a little bug in my face.
I see the fly buzzing around.
A little gnat.
Yep.
Because I used to think that, it was absolute. When your time is done, it's done. And it's funny. I do believe that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the whole death process, because I have come in and out of that death place. You've all heard me talk about it before. And I really, truly feel like there have been crossroads in my life where I could have, I'm just going to be completely transparent. I did, try to commit suicide once, or thought about it very seriously. And I felt at that moment that I was at a crossroad. And I remember really debating back and forth and baiting back and forth. And something came over me, and I felt like it was one of these like I have a few markers in life that were placed for me to practice certain big life experiences. And me taking my own life and wanting to check out earlier was one of them that I've dealt with a few times. And each time I chose to stay alive, or someone intervened, and kept me here on the planet. And even when I was in the hospital and I was getting ready to cross over, after the chemo radiation, my body, the white cell count was down to like 72 white blood cells, and I was crashing, and I was literally like being pulled to the other side. But I also felt like there was a bit of a choice. And then a nurse came in and gave me an option. And she's like, well, what do you want to do? And again, I chose to do the thing that would keep me on the planet. So I do believe that death is inevitable. Like that end point is going to come. And I do believe that there is a set point that I don't have any free will over. Like that is a absolute. But I also feel like within this, though, we do have some free will choices. And and whether it is we stay in a partnership and work through a relationship rather than get a divorce. I think it can show up in a lot of different ways. But that's one way that my free will thinking has changed, is I feel like sometimes the free will has parameters.
Well, if you look at just the day-to-day life, we operate in a state where most of what we do, the driving, the drinking, the heart beating, the breathing, most of what we're doing is subconscious.
Yeah.
And just a few times throughout the day, or maybe a few dozen times throughout the day, or maybe a couple hundred times throughout the day, depending on how conscious we are about what we're doing, there's actually a moment where we sit and we like catch ourselves about to do something, and then we weigh the options. Like, oh, am I doing this way? Am I doing it that way? Am I going to eat the cake? Am I not going to eat the cake? Am I going to stop by the liquor store? Am I not going to stop by the liquor store? And in these moments, so maybe these moments are when you're actually practicing free will and the rest is autopilot. And so by practicing presence, by practicing consciousness, we become more attuned with the decisions we're making. So we're being conscious of them more often. Therefore, we're practicing and exerting free will more.
Yes.
Maybe so.
I think so. Well, and for me, I just want to say that, the reason why I was to the point of wanting to leave this planet was just because I was in so much pain.
Yeah, that's a good reason.
And, but I do remember, like I would say there was a few times where I feel like a spiritual element intervened. But later down the path, it was a conscious free will that I looked at that and I realized that wherever you go, there you are. That's my belief. So it's like, okay, so we leave this plane. I'm just going to have to, it's not going to go where, it's not going to go away. And so I was like, and that really helped me make those decisions. Like, let's just reach out to someone. Like I got help, or, like I made that hard decision, that free will to make that contact. And that's really the key, is you got to reach out to somebody. If you ever feel like you're in that place, that's the key. Is isolation is it's the end. Once that connection reaches out, then it's like, I mean, I'm not laughing at this topic. I was just laughing at Dane. Anyway, so that, yeah. So yeah. And I think that, just switching again here right now, the free will is, for me, being really challenged because there are things that I am feeling very powerless about, like I have no problem paying my taxes, but I'm really unhappy about my taxes going towards a war that I don't want to pay for, I don't believe in. And that's where I'm like, how can I use my free will in these moments, right? What can I choose? Is like, I want my money to go towards education. I want my money to go towards other things. And so, like I'm constantly like, how can I have this free will moment to, I don't know, to work with that. So that's a different topic.
And that's a context you bring up, which actually I do have a problem with paying taxes. And not in like the theoretical aspect of it. Like I think, contributing into a pool for your society that you can draw out of and pay for necessities, that makes perfect sense. But anybody who's paying attention, it's obvious most of this money is being squandered and siphoned into pockets and activities which are frankly evil in a lot of cases.
Yes.
And so I have free will. And I try to be a good person, right? I consider myself somebody that tries to do good by others and try to keep my word, and I try to be honest the best that I can. And I also recognize that I have free will. And I also recognize that tax dollars are being spent to kill people and do evil in this world. So when I accept and via my free will pay these taxes, it makes me complicit in evil to a degree. And that weighs hard on me. That weighs very hard on me. So that's one of the major hypocrisies of this world that I have noticed, that I am currently complicit in, and that I'm looking for an escape hatch from.
Yeah.
Because I do have a major problem with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's what I was talking about at the beginning of this episode was, I've noticed as I've matured that I do have free will, but sometimes it's within a container because, like, again, I mentioned this, I think just 2 episodes again about how my dad didn't pay taxes and he was part of the freedom fighters and they were fighting against unlawful taxes that had been amended into the Constitution that were not a part of the original Constitution. And so he wanted me to stop paying taxes. And I was like, I'm too afraid.
It's scary.
I'm too afraid because I'm like, I'll lose my house. I'll go to jail. I have kids to raise. But I've been talking to more and more people, like Athena and I were talking about. I was like, what if a revolution started where people just stopped paying their taxes and we pooled our money, and just said, no, we're not funding this anymore. We don't want this. We don't want to pay for this. And, or, I don't know. Anyway, we're getting into politics now.
What if? I love the hypothetical though. That's a great question.
But it is, like I do feel like there's stirrings where, I would love a little bit more power in where my money goes. I have no problem contributing to the greater good. And I'd like it to go into anyway, that's a whole nother podcast. That's a whole
We could do a podcast on taxes one of these days. I'm sure that'd be very interesting.
But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're allowed to swim through topics and deviate. That's what free will is all about, is deviation.
That's
it's changing course, going a little other direction for a little while.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
My free will says I'm good. Yeah. I feel good about it. It's good to think about. It's like I want to, like, where can I bring more consciousness into my free will?
Yep, it's good to think about, and from what I've gathered here, it's absolutely good to practice. Being conscious of what you're doing in the moment, and then making a decision based on really just kind of intuition.
Yeah.
You could bring a little logic into it and analyze a little bit, but at the end of the day, you're kind of making a gut call on everything that you do.
Yes.
And just practicing tapping into that, like, basal center of yourself that creates the decision, that spark, that momentary energy that decides and just takes a step one direction or the other. A lot of power comes from there. A lot of creation comes from there. And your ability to course correct and evolve yourself through changing your current routines, because that's what we are. We're patterns that repeat over and over again, and occasionally we decide to deviate from these patterns. We're like, all right, I'm going to do this, and that's a conscious decision to step out and do something that's out of the norm, which is what, like, I think those decisions become conscious more frequently.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I'm getting a little
brain fatigue,
a little lightheaded just from trying to compute all of this.
I know. When you were riffing earlier, my brain was like, it was like, that's a lot of information. Yeah, but it's great, and just we invite you to think about, what does free will mean for you, and
what does it mean?
How does it, where can you exercise more free will? Where are you feeling like you don't have free will, and where can you exercise it, in a healthy way? When I say healthy way, in a way that's not stepping on others or
get that free will strong,
using people like ladder rungs. It's like, where can you exercise that in a way that's coexisting with others around you? That's my goal. Yeah. Well, thank you for that.
Thank me for that.
Yeah. Okay. I think we'll take a quick break, everybody, and we'll be back for the second topic.
See you soon.
Okay.
We're pretty excited over here. We just got our patent as of last month. Thank you to the legal team that helped put it together. It was pretty miraculous. Advice we got was saying that they didn't think that our product was unique enough to stand on its own 2 feet, but very first patent official gave us the seal of approval, and we're officially in business. We're officially moving forward. Wish us luck. We're wishing you health, and we're giving you the tools to help you stay healthy throughout the day. Bye.
Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back to Transylvania.
I hope not.
Yeah, I don't know. Welcome back to the show.
We're being silly today. It's a silly. Spring brings that out of me.
I try to be. It's more fun that way.
It is more fun. Okay, well, topic number 2. I've been thinking about this actually for a couple of weeks, and it's come up because it's been coming up in a lot of conversations I'm having with people, and I've seen it a lot over my 35 years with people, my clients. So the word is mistakes. Ooh. And people being afraid of making mistakes, like the regrets of mistakes. I mean, what is a mistake?
I don't know anything about mistakes.
Yeah, right. Me neither. But I thought we should explore it here for the poor people who do.
Yeah, okay, we could try.
So, so what, I'll just toss the ball over to you for what comes to mind about mistakes. What is it?
Well, I had another conversation recently, and I've probably brought this up in my life several times, but probably one of my biggest fears of like, we have these fears that kind of like paralyze us and keep us from moving sometimes, is fear of failure, which is essentially a mistake. It's essentially making such critically bad decisions that everything you hoped to accomplish just blows up.
Yeah.
Whether that's like, a potential relationship or trying to build a business to prop up family and employees to support on, or whatever the dream is. You have a dream, and I don't know, for some reason, this might be an illusion, but in my mind, there's the ability to, make such bad decisions that it just completely evaporates. So that's what a mistake is to me. A mistake is a bad decision, really. It's a falter in judgment. It's a moment of weakness. It's to make a mistake, you have to have a end goal or a vision that you're working towards. And a mistake is, to frame it one way, an error, a step back, or a mistake, another way to frame it, is a moment of learning in trying something new.
Yeah.
Right? So you're climbing the mountain, you get 500 steps up, you step on one rock and slip back 20 feet.
Yeah.
That's a mistake, right? But it doesn't actually prevent you from reaching the summit. It's just a setback. It's just a step back, and you just learned that rock's no good. You don't step on that rock again, right? So mistakes are necessary.
Yes.
And if you are actively living and creating and bringing your best self in this world, honestly, you have to be an expert in mistakes.
Yes. Yes. I have so much to say about this word, but the first thing that I'm going to say comes to mind is that what I find disheartening, and problematic, like I said, with clients, with everybody, is that I feel like so much potential is wasted because people are so afraid of making a mistake that they do nothing. They do nothing. And it is such a it makes my heart sad because the world is missing out on your gifts, on your personality, on all the amazing things of you just because you're afraid it's going to be the wrong step or the wrong choice or the wrong whatever.
And just to elaborate, not only is the world missing out on you, but you're missing out on a better version of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because when we started this podcast, we had no clue what we're doing.
Still don't.
Yeah. And, there was a fear for a while. I was like, oh, but what if we do it wrong? Or what if people, whatever. And it was just like, oh my God, stop. Just stop, because it doesn't matter. What matters is you do it and you learn. And I'm so glad we did, because the best thing, I love doing this podcast. I don't know. It doesn't even matter really. I'm really glad you're watching, but it doesn't really matter because I'm doing it for my heart. I'm doing it because I love it so much and I get so much out of it. So it's, and we've made a lot of mistakes, but they don't cripple me anymore. They don't hold me down, and that's a new place, but I do feel like, again, there's a reframing for me that has come to fruition, that has catalyzed in me around what a mistake is, that when I was in my 20s and 18, 19, and my whole childhood, it was like, oh my God, making a mistake was like the worst thing you could do. It was like the end of the world. You were in trouble. You were shamed. How could you? It was like I would rather have done nothing and just slid under the radar than to do something and have it pointed out as a mistake. It was.
But here's an interesting delineation. There are mistakes that we make out of not knowing, such as stepping on that rock on the mountain and sliding back. And then there are mistakes made out of hubris and out of, like, where we know the step we're going to take is a mistake and we do it anyways. Like what happens there? Like, what's going on there, and how would you differentiate those two?
Well, I think that, it's interesting because you got your free will
You do. Hopefully.
Right?
I believe.
Yeah. And here you are, and you have a choice, right? A choice comes up. And I'm going to use food because I'm in the middle of a food program right now. I'm trying to clean out my system and working on inflammation and stuff. And, you know, and I come up to an event where there's wine and goodies and all that. And, you know, and there's a choice, right? There's like, well, am I going to eat the thing that brings me comfort and that I'm used to and I really want and it tastes good? Or am I going to make, right? Am I going to choose the thing that is going to bring me long-term lasting health and help me change a lifestyle pattern? And longer term, I'm going to feel better about myself, right? And so, yeah, it's like in that moment, I get to make a choice, right? But here's the thing. It's like either one I'm going to learn something from. So does a mistake even really exist?
Yeah, but eating a piece of cake is a lot less consequential than, you know, hitting somebody or getting in the car and driving drunk and crashing.
Yes.
Or holding up a supermarket with a weapon.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of extreme degrees that we can make irrevocable mistakes that drastically change our life course. And those happen. And once again, are those just like maybe those are lessons meant to be learned? But at the same time, hopefully we can do everything we can to learn from little mistakes before we make these big giant mistakes. Yes. You know, stepping on a rock and sliding back 10 feet on a mountain is like, you can deal with that, but falling off a cliff, it's going to take a lot to come back from that one.
Or not at all.
Exactly. A lot of mistakes are life ending.
Well, do you remember me telling you the Chinese proverb? Do you remember me telling you and Athena? Because I remember this of saying like, look, you can't make, there's no wrong choice. You can't make a mistake. Because if you choose oranges, you're going to learn about oranges. And if you choose an apple path, you're going to learn about apples. Do you remember me saying that?
If you choose jumping off a cliff, you're going to learn about gravity.
You're going to learn. You are going to learn something. Yeah. But I'll just say, so the Chinese proverb that I learned, I don't know, maybe 30 years ago, a long time ago. And the story goes, and it's really, this proverb actually changed the trajectory of my life and how I think about mistakes. And the story goes is that there was a farmer, and he had a horse, and the horse, somehow the corral broke, and he ran away. And the next door neighbor comes over and says, oh, that is such bad luck. You know, how are you going to plow your fields? You know, what are you going to do? You don't have a horse anymore. And the farmer goes, well, you know, who's to say what's good or bad? I don't know. And so the son goes out the next day to go look for the horse, and he finds the horse, and he finds a whole bunch of wild horses, and he's able to bring them all back. So now they've got 7 horses. And they fix the corral, they're inside, and the neighbor comes over and says, oh my gosh, that's great. Wow, what good luck you have. And the farmer's like, well, I don't know. Who's to say what's good or bad? And then the next day, the son's out breaking in one of the horses, and he gets bucked off, and he breaks his leg. And the neighbor comes back over and says, oh my goodness, that is bad luck. Who's going to, you know, till your land and help you on the farm now? You have nobody to help you. And he goes like, well, who's to say what's good or bad? And then the very next day, the military regime is coming through and picking up all able-bodied men to go to war. His leg is broken, so he can't go. And again, the neighbor comes over, oh, that's good luck. So anyway, the story just keeps going on and on and on. And the obvious premise of this story is that really, and this is the whole premise, we've talked about yin and yang. So in the center of the darkness, there's always a dot of white. And in the white circle, there's always the dark, meaning that nothing is all good and nothing is all bad. There's always something, it's always moving us to evolve. And so I don't really look at mistakes as mistakes anymore. I look at them as they're just stepping stones to learning. And some are more painful, where you fall way down 20 feet or, you know, have an injury, a surgery, you know, like I'm saying. And then some, it's just, yeah. So I've really begun to refine mistake.
Yeah, because, I mean, the ultimate consequence that you can learn from a mistake, I suppose, is death, you know, through bad habits or through strapping a rocket engine on your back and trying to fly to the moon or building a parachute out of bed sheets and trying to jump off a building, right? All these Darwin Award winners, like, those are mistakes. But ultimately, it just transcends you to the next level, I guess, also. So, like, is it meant to be? And then I guess that brings into the question, if it's all destiny, then we're meant to transpire at these times anyways. We're meant to pass away at these times, or we're meant to be incarcerated for 20 years. Or so there's some dance happening here
Yes.
between the ability to choose and change the big picture, and then just the big picture giving us a classroom to sit down in and learn through in some degree. And I don't really know how to navigate it still. I just reached 40 years old. I still really have no idea. But you know what I am doing? I'm asking questions, and I want to learn about it. I want to understand how my actions and how my own mistakes break me down and build me up. How do I break myself down and how do I build myself up? Because I want to build something. I want to create something. And no matter what you're building, whether it's a beautiful painting on a canvas, you start with scratchy stick figures. Or whether it's a business, you start with spending all your money multiple times and having nothing to show for it. Or whether it's climbing a mountain, you only get a little bit of the way up, and then you got to go back home and retreat and eat a piece of cake, you know? All of these, all of your goals, all these lofty things that we hope to achieve, they take growth and restriction, success and failure.
Yeah. And I think I would add to that, because I love everything you said. I would add to that I've also learned that really if I look underneath mistakes, the foundation needs to be built on trust, you know? And I also feel like that's why a lot of people are afraid of making mistakes, is because they don't trust life. They don't trust themselves.
That's the big one.
The big one. And so it's like, so when something happens that looks bad, and it's like, oh, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Or instead of going like, you know what? This has got to be moving me forward somehow. So what if I trust that this is absolutely the perfect next step that needed to go sideways or backwards in order for me to take my next forward step? And again, that change of perspective, you know, and that's something that I really want to implant in the word mistake, is like, where can I find the trust in those things?
Yeah. And that's one of the main things that holds me back in my own life, is my knowledge of my ability to make grave and grand mistakes. Like, I know I have the ability to hurt people on very deep levels. I know I have a very, I have half of myself, which is a, shadow part of myself, which is capable of doing great harm. And so part of me is scared to get close to people because I don't want to hurt them and push them away. I know I have the capability to destroy, beautiful things. So I don't want to, part of me doesn't want to get close to building something beautiful because I know I might be my own destructor. And so learning to trust your own ability to curtail your mistakes and choose the right path that you're going to want to stay on is a big part of this learning game for me. It's learning to trust myself and learning that in those moments of free will, in those mile markers of where you have a real fork in the road and a real major decision to make, to know that in those moments with your life experience, you're going to at least try to choose correctly. And knowing myself that I will try, it's given me the confidence to slowly build more and grow more and build and forge stronger relationships and build a stronger and clearer vision of my future.
Yeah, I mean, because the whole point is to try things doing your best.
Yeah.
Because like who I am today is like, I wouldn't make the same missteps as I did in my 20s, right? Because I've learned from all of those things. As long as I think we're learning from it, as a mistake, giving yourself permission to make a mistake and fall down and fail and hurt people or whatever. But then you learn from it and then you take responsibility and say, I'm sorry. And then the other part of that I just wanted to say is ruining the beautiful things is that, again, from the Buddhist philosophy, these monks I've seen will take days and weeks and even months and using sand make the most incredible, beautiful works of art of mandalas. And then at the end of it, after they've had a ceremony and a blessing, they just sweep it all away. And it's the honoring the impermanence. Yeah, I think that's the word. You know, it's like nothing's going to last. And that lesson, that teaching from the Buddhas has really helped me, so that when I'm creating things and I'm like, oh, it didn't stay beautiful and it ruined. And it's like, yeah, but that's great. Like, start over. And sometimes I will grieve about that. But that's also helped me have the courage to try things, knowing that I may blow it all up. And if I do, well, then I learned about that, right?
And at least I get a clean canvas again.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right? So it's like, I mean, in this conversation, I really want to invite you guys, but also I want to invite myself when I walk away from this, is I want to look at the areas where I'm afraid to move forward because I'm afraid of doing it wrong or making a mistake. I want to start there. And then what I like to do is I like to dissect it all the way down. So what's the worst thing that can happen? What's the worst thing that can happen? And I like to go there and decode it and pick it apart. And oftentimes for me, it's like people are going to criticize me or say bad things about me or be mean to me, or I'm going to be kicked out of the tribe, you know, and I sometimes have to just follow that thread and be like, I wouldn't die. I wouldn't die if people disagree with me. I'm not going to die if, you know, people say something mean to me. You know, it's like sometimes we have to demystify and decode what we're afraid of feeling if it doesn't happen the way we happen. Oh, I look stupid. Well, you know what? I've had a lifetime of that, so that's good.
What's a little more?
What's a little more?
Yep.
What's a little more looking, okay, in front of more people, I'm going to look stupid in front. Well, that's a new one. Okay, let's see how that feels.
Yeah.
You know? But I think it's that conscious, and this is that consciousness we keep talking about. The more that you can consciously go in and uncover what these things are, rather than just being like, oh, I don't want to make a mistake. Well, what does that mean? Why? What? Figure it out. Look at it. Like you said, I love that about you. You're like, I ask questions, I inquiry, you know, figure it out. Yeah. And then do it anyway. I don't care how scared you feel. Do it. Just do it.
Let's have a contest. You, me, you. Who can have the biggest mistake in the next 1 month?
Exactly. Go for it. Actually, don't, because I don't want to get any calls being like, they told me to do a mistake and I'm in jail now. I'm like, oh,
I jumped off
disclaimers.
a cliff.
Disclaimers. Yeah, nope, don't do that.
Yeah, but do. In your own way. In your own way, try yourself. I mean, with great risk comes great reward. And I do believe that. I think we have to, we have to roll the dice. We have to come to a place where we trust ourselves enough to gamble on ourselves, to take a risk on ourselves. We owe it to ourselves, and if we can trust ourselves to stay the path, yes. If we can get to that point in our life where we can keep making good small decisions, and then evolve that into medium good decisions, and we can get a good track record of being like, all right, in these situations that are difficult, in these moments where I have the pinnacle choice between the light road and the dark road, 90% of the time I choose the good road. So that's pretty good. I'm gonna roll the dice on that. I'm gonna gamble on that, and I'm going to trust myself to take the next 10 steps up the mountain. Yeah, it might be scary. Yeah, it might get a little steeper. There might be some snow and some avalanches up here maybe. Yes. But with time and with confidence and with enough retreats back and having that piece of cake at base camp to regroup and breathe and meditate and contemplate and like reevaluate your game plan, it takes time. It takes time to learn to trust yourself. But you only learn to trust yourself by going out there, making the mistake, losing your footing, looking at it, and then doing it again.
And maybe the next time you feel like you make a mistake, maybe reframe it, maybe be like, this is, maybe it's not a mistake.
And post it down below to make us look better.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds great.
So I'll feel better about myself.
Yeah. And I always like to move forward as best I can of doing no harm. So whatever I move out into the world, it's always from that place of do no harm. So put that as a disclaimer.
Yeah, unless it's a mosquito.
Hey, I'm trying not to hurt them either. So
that's good on you.
Anyway, I feel pretty complete.
Yeah, this was not a mistake. I feel like we did all right.
Yeah, I don't think it was a mistake.
No.
We've got more to make. I welcome them. Actually, I do.
Exactly.
I'm in a place in my life where I welcome, we've talked about this discomfort. I'm feeling grounded in myself that I'm not so afraid of conflict and disappointment and being laughed at and looking stupid. It's like, yeah, whatever. It won't kill me. And then if it does, well, I get on that boat and go to the next place. So
Exactly. I'll see you in
and
hell.
that's good too. I hope not.
Yep.
Anyway, I feel complete.
Great.
So
Circle. Finished.
complete.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. And stay connected. Keep grounded. Drink your cup of tea. Whatever you do to keep yourself open-hearted and sane through this insanity time. We're there with you. So you're never alone.
It's always fun.
Mm-hmm.
Become an expert in you.
Yep, become an expert in you. All right, we'll leave it there. Be well. Till next time. See you later. Big blessings. Bye-bye. Cheers.
Nice. Last sip of coffee.